It's a pleasure to have you here. Let's settle for the details now. President Akufo-Addo says he's determined to deal with the increase in cases of kidnappings, expressing worry over recent incidents. 3 girls from Takrady, an Indian businessman and an Estonian diplomat, have in recent months been kidnapped, or 2 of them have been rescued, the Estonian and the Indian businessman. But this has raised a lot of concern for many Ghanaians. Speaking at an event to roll out a national anti-corruption plan, President Akufo-Addo seized the opportunity to comment on the matter.
We're all concerned about this phenomenon of kidnappings, which we have not known. Our brothers and sisters in Nigeria have known it, but we have not known it in this country. And we need to do something about it to make sure that it doesn't become a feature of our society. I am very, very, very determined on the issue, and decisions are being taken as we speak that will be a clear manifestation of the determination I have to deal with this matter. Yes, the disturbing trend of citizens and of reaction of security personnel, and also the attitude of citizens towards the serving personnel. These are all part and parcel of disturbing trends in our society that we have to find a way. There's a thin line about democratic governance that also we all have to bear in mind, and that is that the freedoms and due process and all of that also can sometimes get in the way of the kind of actions that you want to take to address certain kinds of problems. But the balance between liberty and order, that balance is a balance that we have to maintain and ensure its sustenance at all times. We want to be free, but we also want to live in an ordered society where you can go to bed at night and feel comfortable, walk on the streets of your city and feel safe. So we need to balance the two. It's not always easy, but it has to be done. And I recognize the need for that to take place.
Now, though President Akufo-Addo didn't speak on any of the specific kidnap cases that have been recorded since last year, this may appear to be good news for many who've called on him to comment on the case of the missing Takrady girls. For the national chairman of the PNC, Bernard Mona, the president spoke loosely in comparing recent kidnappings in Ghana to what happens in Nigeria.
I don't know why the president chose to invite a battle between Ghana and Nigeria in this instance, and I'm sure that any person with little international relations will be worried about the president's pronouncement and drawing in Nigeria into a domestic crisis that you are confronted with.
Okay.
Why would Mr. President say that this phenomenon is known in Nigeria? Because we did not magnify it in the manner that it is being magnified in Nigeria. This is not the first time people are gone missing. You, in your station here, have reported countlessly the number of people that are gone missing from their families. They have been kidnapped or whatever. It's never said as bad as the president has put it, drawing some diplomatic wedge between Ghana and Nigeria. Why would Mr. President engage in such loose talk? That is the first one. The second important thing that I want to state in this matter is that, look, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. We are now entering into May. We are entering into May. And it is that if the anti-corruption group did not go to the presidency to talk about many issues afflicting our nation, Mr. President was not going to talk about it.
Dr. Emmanuel Christianin is Director, Faculty of Academic Affairs and Research at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center, and he joins us on the phone for a discussion on this. Thank you, Doc, for your time.
Well, it's a great pleasure.
All right. So we've heard the president. He says this is not a usual thing we record in our country, the issue of kidnappings and the rate at which we are having people report relatives and friends missing, and compares it to what is in Nigeria. He says, well, we know this to happen in Nigeria, not in Ghana. Chairman of the PNC, Bernard Mona, thinks that this was a loose comment to make. Would you say, from where you sit as a security analyst, that the president erred in any form with this comparison
Well, I think it goes beyond the comparison. For those of us who study the transformations within society and the tensions and stresses that they create, the kidnappings are not a surprise at all. I think I've been talking about this for the past 4 or 5 years. And, making the assessment that we are going to see a rise in kidnappings as a business, kidnappings as a response to the unplanned expanding urban spaces, kidnapping as a response to the lack of investigative and interrogatory skills by the Ghana Police Service. So there is no surprise at all in terms of the kidnappings that we are seeing. And until we move away from the altruistic explanation that, this is not in our nature, and to look at it through an instrumentalist lens, that this is part of the expansions, unplanned expansions within society, population boom, inadequate law enforcement, then designing the strategies to respond to them will also be there. So there's no surprise in this at all.
Doc, even though the president did not blame what we are seeing on Nigerians over time, especially with the issue of the missing Takoradi girls, because the key suspect who is currently in the grips of police is Nigerian, many people have tried to link what is happening to Nigerians living in Ghana, and we've had a response from the Nigerian community here as well. Would you say that this statement by the president may directly or indirectly fuel that speculation?
I'm not too sure. Look, there's a difference between the statement made by those who lead and govern and then the facts on the table. Over the past 10 to 15 years, if you disaggregate crime types in Ghana and the background and nationalities of those who commit these crimes, Nigerians are actually fairly low on the scale. So there is this perception that someone causes more problems in your country than your own citizens. And were you to go to Nigeria, you will hear similar stories about the perception of Ghana man and Ghana must go. Okay? So I think it's important that one is cautious and careful in tagging whole nationalities with particular forms of crime. That leads to prejudice, it leads to discrimination in certain instances, it can lead to violence. Look, foreigners cannot come into one's country and commit crimes if they don't have accomplices who are citizens of that country. That's number one. And two, if our law enforcement is not up to speed. We haven't invested in our law enforcement for the past 20 to 30 years, and it's beginning to show. So whilst we may show concern about what is happening, I think we need to ask ourselves some tough questions. One, what is the ratio of police officers to citizens in this country? And it is not a very impressive sum. We promised the Ghana Police Service when they said they were going to do transformation, 800 million Ghana cedis. How much of that money has been dispersed? Less than 10 to 50% of money promised by multiple governments to the Ghana Police Service in the annual budgets are actually dispersed. So we have underfunded and underinvested in both our intelligence and law enforcement services over the past 30 to 40 years. And that is what we are beginning to experience now, that the challenges are getting more and more, and they are overwhelming the statutory security force.
Families of these missing Takoradi girls, they have expressed concern about the posture of the Ghana Police Service. Some 27 days ago, we heard from the boss of the Criminal Investigation Department of the Ghana Police Service saying that they know where these girls are. We heard from the Attorney General, who spoke on Personality Profile on Joy FM, and she expressed a bit of worry and regret over the publication of that particular information. From where you sit as a security analyst, some also are bashing the media for what they say is too much pressure on the security services. Analyzing what's happening now with regards to the kidnappings, what would you say we should be doing? What is your reaction to how it has been handled by the police service and all stakeholders generally?
Well, I think we've all shown a certain concern to come to grips with the kidnapping cases. In talking about the police and talking about these cases, we haven't shown enough sensitivity to the families involved and the individuals who are hurting and suffering. I think going forward, first, the CID must have a more responsible and careful communication around these cases. I think the CID has failed in the manner in which they have communicated information, not only about the kidnapping, but also about murders in this country. If you remember the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority lady who was murdered,
yes,
we all got to know that there was semen on her, blah, blah, blah. Eventually we were told it was not true. So we need sensitivity in dealing with these cases and in talking about it. I think the media's role in continuing to place these cases on the front pages, first, that we don't forget, but secondly, that the law enforcement agencies have a responsibility, first, to assure us that they are on top of their game. It's very crucial. So, if not because of you guys, these stories would have died. Can you do it much more sensitively? Yes, I think you can. So whilst the media is also keeping us abreast with the state of the investigation, I think we also need some sensitivity in our choice of words, in the way that we report the statements that come from the CID, because there's nothing more painful than being given hope and the hope being dashed. Okay, so I think we all have a responsibility, a huge responsibility, in being sensitive in how we handle these cases.
Quite recently, someone shared some information with me via my WhatsApp, and I realized that it was forwarded from a certain source that claimed to have some knowledge on how to prevent kidnappings and, look out for one another in neighborhoods and communities. Would you say the police has taken a good stance in terms of proactiveness? We've seen one case after the other. Last week we reported of this Indian businessman in the Ashanti region who was kidnapped and later rescued by the police. Is the police doing well in trying to educate the public and have a more proactive approach to this issue of kidnappings?
Look, this is a joint intervention. We need to get the police here providing the information, but those of us on the recipient end or the receiving end must also provide the police with information that is verifiable and that is also actionable. Earlier on, I spoke about lack of investment in the Ghana Police Service. If we have underinvested over time in terms of personnel, equipment, and all that, what it means is that we haven't increased the numbers, improved training to respond to population growth. So if we provide false information to the Ghana Police Service and we divert them from doing the work that they need to do, that does not help. So in partnering with the police service, it is our responsibility also to ensure that we give them verifiable and actionable information. That this is a partnership. The police service cannot do it alone. But they need to indicate to us and to stretch their hand that, look, we need you to help us.
Doc, I'm talking more in terms of how to stay safe as a citizen, and how sometimes some of these information that go around social media are not, you can't really verify the sources. So someone sends you a WhatsApp message saying that if you are attacked or ambushed, do this or do that. But it is not from a verifiable source like the Ghana Police Service. I'm talking about such proactive measures where you've seen the increase in reports over time since August last year. It's been one incident after the other. Shouldn't the police service be doing something more proactive in terms of teaching the populace what to do, what not to do, and how to avoid, making yourself a target for a possible kidnapping?
Oh, I agree with you 100%. And this is the lack of proactiveness from the service that then allows people like our friends to say, look, please, if you are going out, check this, check that. If you park your car at a petrol station, people will stick something to the car. All these preventive acts by ordinary individuals are out there in the public domain. It's up to the police to say, look, this is how you should do it from a professional standpoint. And it is that silence that is creating an avenue, for ordinary people with some knowledge to say, look, I know about this, let me share it. But the responsibility and the proactiveness must come from the Ghana Police Service.
And so, Doc, for you, how do we see an end to these issues of kidnappings and crime in general?
Well, this is a business. We're not going to see an end to it. Not now. No. I've been harping on this for 5 years. I was told I am an alarmist. I'm not optimistic. We are on top of situations. We want to disgrace government A or government B. No, we are not going to see an end to it, because we are looking at this as, but these people are bad people. Why do they pick somebody's child, or why do they see the businessman? This is business, pure and simple. So we've got to ask ourselves counterfactual questions. Okay? If and when societies expand in an unplanned manner, how do people behave? When people feel excluded from society, how do they behave? How do crimes change to respond to the opportunities created by poor law enforcement? No, if you look at it from the demand and supply side and use business model, then we can begin to respond to this. But it is basically saying they may come from country X, country Y. This is not our nature. It does not help. No. This is not going to end now. So we should brace ourselves and we should collaborate better with the police, and the police should provide us with better information. Thank
you very much for your time this morning, Dr. Chrissy Enin. Thank you so much. He's a security analyst, works for the Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Training Center, sharing his thoughts on a recent increase in kidnapping cases here in Ghana. Meanwhile, the Ashanti Region Police Command has assured Indian nationals and other expatriates in the region of adequate security and protection. The command says foreign nationals should go about their business without fear as measures are being rolled out to ward off threats. Now, last week, a 30-year-old Indian businessman was rescued almost 24 hours after unknown persons bundled him shoved him into their car and took him to an undisclosed location. The kidnappers had demanded a ransom of $5,000 in bitcoins. There's more in this report.
The abduction sent shivers down the spine of his relatives and other members of the community who besieged the police regional headquarters to seek answers. He was, however, rescued less than 24 hours after his abduction. No arrest has been made so far as police search for the kidnappers, who had demanded relatives pay a ransom of $500,000 in Bitcoin. Police have been meeting the Indian community, at least 400 in Kumasi, to discuss security. DCOP Kwesi Mensah Duku is the regional police commander.
To assure our brothers, the Indian community, that they shouldn't panic, that they shouldn't entertain any fears, and that the police, we are very strong on the ground, and that they should have our support. They should not entertain any fears, and that at any point in time that they need our assistance, they should not hesitate and call on us to support them. During the meeting, they also made some suggestions and contributions. We've noted all of them, and we've assured them that we are going to implement all the decisions, all the suggestions and the contributions that we've made.
DCOP Dukun says similar meetings have been scheduled for Chinese and other expatriates.
From here, we are also going to meet other counterparts, other foreigners, especially the Chinese in Kumasi. We've also advised them that they should be security conscious. And when they come out, they see anything untoward or they suspect anything, they should not hesitate and inform us so that we come to their aid. So far, we've strengthened our security in the metropolis. This is an isolated case.
Community members who attended the meeting expressed satisfaction at police efforts, especially to arrest the kidnappers. Avinash Lakani is head of the Indian community in Kumasi.
The police service took time and called for this meeting. We appreciate it greatly. The interaction was very good. We've been able to give some suggestions, the kind of concerns that we had. We were able to share it with them, and they've been able to reassure us on the measures that they are taking to make sure that all of us are safe and secure in the future. The crime officer gave us a detailed brief on the investigation which is ongoing, and they hope to find the suspects, and they also hope to make sure that justice is done. So all in all, I'm very thankful to the police service for calling this meeting and taking our concerns so seriously.
From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Oyemintewia reports.